sometimes I'll just open up another.
Today I choose to go take my son and sit in the rain. Don't fly well, so I decided to sit.
Okay, so that's just a check.
Well, I didn't want to go and jinx it, but I guess maybe if I'd gone, they won.
I got it. Mike can help me if I need.
Is it just so they record? So they.
No, it'll record, but just so we can hear you. Thanks. Thanks, Steve.
You can usually hear me pretty good, I think.
It's online, they can't hear us if we don't use the
Is
mics.
that?
Are we ready, Mike? Okay. Would like to welcome everybody to our Planning Commission meeting today, October 12th, 2021. We'll begin today with an invocation by Commissioner Callis, and then Commissioner Marchbanks will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father in heaven, we bow our heads before thee this afternoon and evening as we gather here for this Lindon City Planning Commission meeting. We're thankful for the opportunity to meet and to discuss the situations and the proposals for our city of Lindon. As we do so this evening, we ask that Thy would be with us, help us to make good decisions, to listen to all information, and to make those decisions which would be best for the citizens and the business people of our community. We're thankful for this beautiful community we live in, for the opportunity we have to be surrounded with such good people and such beautiful surroundings. Now we ask this humbly, Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Would all please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to start tonight with an audible roll call of the commissioners. Mike Marchbanks.
Here.
Rob Callis.
Here?
Steve Johnson, here. Jared Showers.
Here.
Note that Commissioner Sharon Call, Scott Thompson, and Renee Tribe are all excused this evening. The next item on our agenda is to approve minutes from our meeting on September 28th. The commissioners have received these meetings and have had a chance to review them. Is there any corrections to the minutes?
I didn't see any.
Great, I thought they looked good, so, okay. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
With a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The carried unanimously. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is a time for public comment for anybody who has anything that they would like to bring before the commission that's not on the agenda. Is there anybody here for that purpose? Okay. We'll move on to item 4. Get there real quick. This is a miscellaneous application for a building site approval for a pool at 162 Denali Drive. The applicant is Jeremy Fink, and our presenting staff is Mary Barnes.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. This item concerns the applicant's property in the R112 Hillside Protection District overlay located at 162 Denali Drive.
Mary, if the applicant's here, they're welcome to come sit here.
Sit there.
Yeah, this is my first time in the seat, so I apologize. It's my first time too, so if we're both nervous, that's okay. Thank you, Mary.
No worries. So the applicant wants to construct a pool on their property. However, according to Title 17.57.60, residents in the R112 Hillside overlay, as seen on the map on your screen, must get Planning Commission approval when building a swimming pool. The Hillside Protection Overlay was established in 2015 to create standards for development of certain hillsides in the city to minimize slope instability, erosion, etc. However, sorry, let me zoom in a bit more. However, in the code, it says that building sites must have an average slope of 20% or less, and this pool site has an average slope of 20% or less. Plainly, staff doesn't see any problem with this pool. It's a pretty gentle sloped property. It's completely fine. The only thing is in the staff report, it says you need to bring it in front of the Planning Commission because it is in that hillside overlay. So staff are requiring a geotechnical study to ensure the pool is completely safe once it gets approved. If it gets approved by the Planning Commission, here's the layout plan of the pool. It's here. Aquatech is doing it. It's, it'll be really fun for the Fink family. The Planning Commission is the final land use authority in this building site approval. With that, the staff recommends building site approval for the Jeremy Fink pool at 162 Denali Drive with the following motions and conditions. Zoom in here. 1, a geotechnical report by a licensed geotechnical engineer be submitted to city staff for review and approval as part of the building permit and all items of the staff report.
Thank you. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, Mary did great.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
I was a little surprised. I don't know the time I've been here we've ever approved a pool. Is this, asking a staff the question, is this something that we normally do with all homes or just because of the hillside?
Just because it's in the hillside overlay. You
It's
can
in that
see,
zone, even though this one is not
yeah.
heavily sloped.
And as you can see, item 4 underneath ordinance requirements, building sites for accessory buildings or structures such as tennis courts, swimming pools shall be approved by the Planning Commission.
Okay.
And
Like I said, this is my first time.
There are a few other pools on Denali Drive up there,
Yeah.
so.
But I couldn't ever remember doing one.
I don't recall that. It's
Since
been a
we've
while.
been here, yeah.
Commissioners, I know it's too late for this one, but that might even be something we want to look at, that you would allow staff to
Yeah,
Yeah.
evaluate this.
I think so.
Yeah, especially if the slope is below a certain point or whatever, just to let staff
For that
evaluate.
particular lot or something. One last question, is there going to be any building structure or pool house or anything like that?
No, none in the plans.
Any other questions from the commissioners? This is not a public hearing, but is there any public here for this item? Okay. If there's no further discussion, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve the applicant's request to construct a swimming pool at 162 Denali Drive in the R12 hillside overlay with the noted conditions A and B.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The voting is unanimous.
All right, thank you.
Good luck with your pool.
Hey, thank you very much.
Is this going in this fall or?
Later fall, yeah. So,
Good.
Won't be swimming in
Too
it.
cold to use it?
Too cold to use it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
for coming in.
Yeah.
Gotta get this big enough to read again. Okay, our next item is item number 5. We are, it's for a site plan approval for the Tag and Go at 195 North State Street.
Sorry, Commissioner, that was my mistake. It's actually 310 North State.
310 North State.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. I guess down below it says 310.
Yeah,
I should have caught that.
no worries.
Okay, at 310 North State, the applicant is Connor Atkin. If he comes sit up. And our presenting staff is again Mary Barnes.
So this, thank you, Commissioners. This item concerns a site plan approval for Tag and Go located at 310 North State in the Commercial General Zone. So it's going to be a public car wash. Tag and Go has primarily been in southern Utah County, and this is the first location in northern Utah/Utah County. So going into the site development standards, I'll come down to the site plan. I should have ordered these better, but somehow I did not. Here it is. The parking includes a total of 24 parking spaces. 19 are vacuuming bays, you can see here on the north side and on the south side. So these are vacuuming, it says right here, vacuum spaces. The parking code for, 19 are vacuuming bays, and then these 5 are for office use. So the parking code for an office use requires 1 space per every 350 square feet of office area, and the office, which is right here, is only 655 square feet. So the 5 spaces meet the parking requirement, including this ADU space that also meets the parking requirement of just 1 ADU space. Tag and Go, they're not required to provide parking for the full car wash area for obvious reasons. Additionally, the south edge of, I just added this in just in case you have questions about this part right here, because that's clearly on the other parcel. So you probably remember, but that's a part of the shared access easement that was approved just recently. So all setback and street lighting, height, and fence requirements have been met on this site plan. I want to highlight this, there's design down here. You can kind of see it's kind of like a hatched black and white line. So that's going to be a 7-foot masonry wall separating this commercial use from the residential use that is just to the east right here, which is what's required in code. Okay, so with the landscaping, commercial landscaping standards require a 20-foot landscaping strip on street frontages, which has been provided. You can see that right here. The landscaping plan also meets the overall landscape coverage requirements, which is 70% or more. The trees are all permitted species from the Lindon Tree Planting Guide, and the trees are planted at least 30 feet along the front landscaped berm. Additionally, more than 20% of this lot is landscape open space, meeting the commercial landscape standards of Lindon. Now onto the building itself. The building facade will consist of charcoal honed blocks. Here, I'll zoom out a bit. Oh, that's too much. There you are. Synthetic stucco, which is just up here, and then this thin, the decorative stone veneer with stone caps up the top. The mix of building materials makes the exterior more interesting, which is something we highlight in our commercial design standards. The windows at the entrance of the building will go all the way to the ground, and the facades are broken up every 15 to 25 feet with architectural details, such as these trellises, and there's an awning here and an awning here. There's building lights right here, right here, right here, right here, and obviously the signs, which are all over the building, and then the different building material textures that I mentioned earlier. The roof is flat and sloped, and this building meets all of Lindon's commercial design standards. There is one thing, though, it technically doesn't meet the standard of having the primary entrance on facing a public street. However, because it is a car wash, we decided it's not feasible to ensure front entrance face the street, because that would be to invite pedestrians in and that kind of thing, or this is not a pedestrian-centered use. And then finally, the floodplain regulations. Oh, there we are. They look a bit funky here. But regarding the floodplain regulations, the tag and go site is technically located in flood zone A. According to the flood code, you need to study that area and, let me let off there, and come up with a plan of how to mitigate the possibility of a flood. So Tag and Go created this floodplain map showing where the exact floodplain is in that purple area. I don't know why it looks so bad there, but I promise it looks better on my computer. According to floodplain regulations, the buildings in the floodplain must have 1 foot freeboard above the base flood elevation. So Tag and Go will be following this regulation, and you can't very much see it. Oh, there you go, that's much better. See, their minimum first floor elevation will be 4,646.81 feet, which is 1 foot above the base flood elevation, so they are meeting that requirement. We are working on that.
Real quick, so one thing with State Street, FEMA hasn't established any base flood elevation heights for State Street. So we appreciate Connor and his engineer. What they did is they went out and measured the elevation of State Street, where that floodplain ends. And so this building will sit 1 foot above that base elevation of State Street.
Yeah, so we're still working with them on the finalization of the floodplain permit. But floodplain approval is up to the floodplain administrator, which is Mike. Just letting you know. So the Planning Commission is the final land use authority in site plan approval. And with that, the staff recommends building site approval for the Tag and Go on 310 North State Street with the following motions and conditions. Let me get up here. Oh no. The applicant will continue to work with the city engineer to make all final corrections to the engineering documents. The plans will meet development specifications as found in the Lindon City Development Manual. Final design will meet the commercial design standards for commercial sites and buildings. The applicant will comply with all bonding requirements if applicable and all items of the staff report.
Thank you, Mary. Is there anything the applicant would like to add to the presentation?
Connor Akin, Tag and Go. Nope, Mary did great. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I'm familiar, in my business, we have a number of car washes that we have. And while they're pretty unobtrusive, the one thing that can be obtrusive is the dryer noise. I like the way you've laid it out, because that will be by State Street and away from the residents on the east as far as possible. Anything particular to your car wash that we should know about for that noise?
No, pretty standard, just like everybody else. I mean, we've done the right underneath the dryers to 25 feet out to 50 feet out in all of our St. George locations. I don't know what State Street measures, but I would assume similar, if not,
Yeah.
because that's why we faced it that way instead of facing residential for
Okay.
that reason. So, yeah.
Okay. The way this is laid out, that planter that's kind of the U-shaped on the east end where the drive-in cars come around and then go into the car lot. Let's see, let me go back to the landscaping plan. There are some trees, or are those just shrubs there in that?
Those would be just shrubs.
Just shrubs.
There's only trees on the...
Just thinking out on top of my head, is there any way to get some trees along that block wall on the east to muffle the sound a little bit for the residences east of there? By shifting maybe shifting something around a little bit. I know space is critical to you, but maybe if that, the one with the shrubs in was narrowed and it was widened on the east where it could accommodate some trees, is that a possibility? Or does that cut into your radius?
I was gonna say, more right there is the radius as well as the stacking of the cars, so if it's a snowy day and the next day. So by moving it that way, I don't think it would help anything with the planner. We'd have to shorten we'd have to shorten the whole site. So I guess, I mean, if that's something you put on, we'll look at that, but
The drive-through right up against the wall,
pretty darn close, yeah.
right there.
Where it's a 7 foot, so most vehicles you won't even see over the top of it,
No,
Right.
that was just
Yeah.
a means of muffling some of the sound.
muffling the sound, yeah.
I was-
Which, no, I can understand that. Or, as you pointed out, the biggest sound is the dryers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
Really.
is most tunnels are 80 to 110 feet. This one's 150. That's what we like to do. So you're from the pay station over to there. You're at least 190 feet to 200 feet away from the dryer section.
Connor, are you right at the 20-foot setback?
On the west side, yes. Are you saying on the?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 20 foot. Yeah, I think that dotted line is right the back of curb, or the back of that dotted line that runs all the way through there.
Let's see, to the north, there's that car lot, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's not an issue.
And to the south will be that retail.
Yeah, so that's not an issue there, just to the east.
And it seems like we got some neighbors here. Aren't the homes way to the east? Nobody's got a backyard that's close to that, is there really, or?
Well, if I could say
Yeah,
some things.
go right ahead.
Or if you'll just say your name and address.
Do you want him at the mic? You can, yeah.
Well, wherever's, this takes about 5 minutes, is that okay?
Yeah.
If I go on, cut me off. But my name is Bardell Fox, it's my wife Diana, and we live at 165 West, 200 North in Lindon, and our house borders on the east side of this whole commercial property. And then behind the front of our house faces Lindon City Park, and the back faces some pasture, and the boundary of this commercial property and the boundary of the pasture goes right behind, our pasture is right behind where the proposed car wash is.
I think we've got a layout of that, haven't we?
Yes.
Here, we can go to.
So we're the red dot there, and then all that pasture that runs along there, where those trees are mainly gone, but those trees is the borderline of our property and the commercial property, and then farther to the top of the screen by the school board is where the proposed car wash would be.
Right here.
Yeah.
And I've made a few notes here. Our concern is that the noise that will come from a car wash built on this commercial property, the noise that will come over to our residential property, and I would like to say that I'm not opposed to a car wash there. I'm just opposed to the noise that would come over to our property, because that pasture area is all zoned as, I think it's called residential low zone. And so those are really potential building sites for us or for others would be sold and built, so that all is a residential area there. And right behind it is basically a residential lot there. And our concern is the noise the noise I'm speaking of comes from the building. It's the blow dryer and the washing. And one of these similar kind of car washes, I haven't been to one they built, but just one in the area, it had an exterior vacuum. I'm not talking about the vacuum where you vacuum your car, but an exterior vacuum generator pump that was also very noisy. You could really hear that from quite a ways away from the car wash. So I'm just concerned with the noise that comes from the building and that exterior noise, and I'm just wondering, is there a way to design a building that goes in there that will not generate that noise that would be a problem to our residential property there? And I did see under the Lindon City Code for general commercial, under maintenance of premise, that no excessive or offensive noise, dust, odor, smoke, or light shall be emitted, which is discernible beyond the site or parcel boundaries, except that which emanates from the movement of motor vehicles. So we're not concerned with motor vehicles and any traffic, anything going in there. It's just mainly the noise generated by a car wash. And we feel that if it was in there, it would likely decrease the value of our properties there. But in the pasture, is a family, my wife owns, has a ownership interest in that pasture area. But it really not considering how it reduces the residential property value, but to me, it's more of a quality of life type issue, where if you had, like a lot of people in Lindon, we like to be out in our yard and around the property. If you have noise continually coming over to your property, not just during the day, but many times they're open in the evening and on weekends, and so you would basically, during your waking hours, have a constant stream of noise coming over if that was a problem. And so we would like, hopefully the building and the car wash can be designed so that that is not a property. And I just want to say that I am not opposed in any way to development of that property. I actually have a big interest for our house is the red dot. During the last 2 years, when I mow my lawn or anytime I'm doing something, I walk down 200 north along the edge of that property and clean up any trash on it. I've gone along that edge and cleaned up all the thistle growing there, chopped it or sprayed it. And sometimes Diana wonders why I'm over there doing things, but I do want that to be a nice property. And so we're not opposed to the development. We would just hope it could be developed so there's not a noise issue on our property. We really love that area, the park, and behind us we have a great view of Tim. We really like it there. And that pasture area, it kind of looks like it's a vacant, unused land, but it is, I go on in that pasture usually at least 2 times a day, and I spend a lot of my summer working in it. I even cry at the opening of car washes or car lots, so don't worry about it. I've spent many hours in there, in that pasture, trying to make it something that maybe an old time, maybe an old time Lindon farmer would like. In that area, this year there's some small barns in there. I've painted all the barns. I've put new sprinkler valves in there. I've gone through the sprinkler system, added new gasket sprinkler heads. The last 2 or 3 years, I fertilize it 2 or 3 times a year. I always spray the weeds. I reseed any bare areas. I mow it in early summer, and we rake up that hay and put it in a barn, and we've raised 4 calves on there this year. So it looks like there's nothing there and there's not going to be a problem with noise, but I'm on it every day, and we've really tried. We've developed that because we want it to be a very desirable property that we can use or be sold as a home site that someone would really value. And along that edge, there have been pheasants. There's California quail out there with their chicks. We know that goes away when it's developed, but we just hope when it goes away, it isn't replaced by the noise of a car wash that we would have to deal with. And we're hoping that the noise issue could be handled or considered up front before it's built, because then it would be a problem, I think, to the other residents in the area if if there was a noise problem. And so I guess we're just asking, does that meet the code for the noise? We will accept decision whatever made. And we've never met you, we do know Steve. We would want to be a good neighbor to you. It's just that, and because doing that, we probably will need to work together on things. It's just we wouldn't want something there that would be a negative and devalue our property as that's built. And that's what we have to say, so.
Do you hire out?
Oh, no. So we do want to work with you, and we hope we can develop and build it. We just don't want like a noise problem there, is what we have to say.
Thank you.
Commissioner, maybe, because I apologize, your last name.
Fox,
The Foxes,
F-A-U-X.
the Foxes haven't seen, what well, let me just go through real quick. The property to the south, so this will be right next to you. So your home is right here. There's 3 other buildings that will come in the next few weeks before the commission too. So they're looking at 2 drive-throughs. So this would be a Beans and Brew. This next one would be a Swig or a Sodalicious, one of those soda pop places. And then this one's a barber shop. They are planning for this whole side here, they are planting trees that will need to be planted right next to your property line there. So,
Not a wall?
and a wall.
Oh, and a wall?
So what the ordinance says is when you have parking next to residential, you have to provide 10 feet of landscaping plus a 7-foot wall. Where Connor's Car Wash is just a drive-through, they don't have to provide that same landscaping. So right next to you here, you will have trees every 30 feet along that property line next to your home at that point.
To Rob's question, I'd almost rather, just to make sure there's not, we do all we can to make sure there's not a problem, because the noise is a legitimate thing, and it sounds like their building design should help that being 150 feet long, but I'd rather give up a little bit of the the setback to let it be pushed out a little bit further, and so that he's got room to put the trees in the back.
Well, I think that could go a long way, but I don't
I'm
know.
not sure you can. Let me read over the ordinance if you can decrease that setback.
Is there any decibel, is it just up for interpretation? As the Fox is
Well, the
asking?
sound, there is a decibel rating isn't there for
There's
sound?
not,
There's
no,
not.
no, remember the planning commission was going to pass the decibel levels, but the council went a different direction.
So I guess while he's looking that up, in response to their question, I think I know what he's talking about. They have the central vac, right,
Yeah.
for all the vacs,
So-
the motor.
So, yeah.
Where does that sit
So
on your
the
building?
central vacs there's one right there, it's the square box that says number 8. So there's one down by the dryers, clear down by the dryers, and then there's one that we put right behind the dumpster on it's number 8, I think, as well. Do you see the 2 square, there's a square by the exit that's it's like a 6x6 pad. So down a little bit further, it's in the landscape area, where there's an arrow, right?
Why don't you just walk up and
Okay.
show?
So the producer is what it's called, will sit right here, and then there's an overhead pipe that runs across. And then this one, because of the width here, we have it right here right behind the dumpster to try to shield it, I guess, if you will. I mean, here, depending on, we could maybe even put it here, we were just trying to shield it behind behind that deal. And to that point, we just opened one in Santa Clara next to the Harmons. And when we got we've used 3 different systems, and this system was running at 48 decibels with nobody using it. So it's the Rolls Royce, if you want to call it, where I have heard other ones that you probably heard in the area that ramp up, and they do ramp up the more people are using them, but it's basically, the ones we'd be using here are the nicest on the market. And so the question with the decibels, why I ask, because we've done this study, of course, it's come up before. on a 26,000 traffic count road in St. George, 25 feet outside of the entrance, we have the main road right there with 26,000 cars, and it was measuring 80 decibels. So where you had mentioned we flopped it, it says on Google that 80 decibels is like a heavy trafficked road. So really,
Yeah, I
we
was gonna
wonder
ask
if the
Mike
dryers
we
is.
knew what the decibel reading at State Street is, cause if you,
It says 50s a quiet office, 60s just normal conversation, 70s a vacuum cleaner, 80s heavy traffic. So basically on that side would be heavy traffic where,
I think I actually went by that in Santa Clara last weekend.
yeah, right there in front of the new Harmons there.
Cause the name didn't strike me as a name that I'd seen, but it looked like a nice
Yeah.
setup.
The other question I think that they addressed, just for our information, what are your hours of operation?
So we are open from 7 to 8 in the wintertime and 7 to 9 in the summertime, and we're closed on Sundays and plan on still doing that. That's not to say if we ever sold someday that somebody couldn't, but that's how we operate.
7 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 7 to 9 in the summer?
Correct.
Okay, and including Saturdays?
Yeah, Monday through Saturday.
So I'm just going back to that ordinance that Hugh wrote. Was
The
that-
sound ordinance.
Yeah, so this showed,
So remind me, Mike, we had tried to put a decibel reading in the ordinance, and what did they do different than what we sent to them?
I'll have to pull it up real quick, but here's a chart that Hugh.
That was probably released in one of those events.
I think it was more related to, it was for the event centers.
But we were talking about a citywide,
Yeah, if you'll
Yeah.
give me just a sec, I'll pull that up.
Has there been any studies what the decibel reading on the front side of the building is? I mean, where the cars enter? You know what I'm
So
saying?
that's the one I was saying,
That's
that
what
was
you're saying.
80, but it's not exactly because our road is right there by the entrance where this one's flopped. So I could beg the question that it's gonna be less because we won't have traffic
And
on
so-
the residential side.
So you measured
no.
80,
I measured 80 at that store on the entrance side, which would be close to residential, but where my 7-foot wall is a 26,000 car road.
okay,
So
in
I was,
Santa Clara.
in Santa Clara.
Or-
there's a new one. This was next to the Costco
Oh,
in
okay.
St.
Yeah.
George. So
Okay.
it's a busy where State Street's 43,000, so that's,
Where you don't have a reading
I don't have a reading.
that's on the opposite side.
I don't have a
you
reading
know,
of just the car wash was that, yeah, on the opposite side, if you will.
where the office is, where the cars enter.
I mean, I could probably get the Santa Clara one, cause that's not a busy area. And get you that
Yeah, that
information,
street
but
noise would be a lot different than
less
State
than,
Street.
yeah.
Is it the motors running, the vacuum's running, or is it the exhaust? that
It's
makes the
it's generally the exhaust.
exhaust?
If you have 10 lines on a run and all 10 are being used, it's just ramping up the variable frequency drives and just
Right.
exhausting it.
How
So
doable would it be to move that other unit that's back by the dumpster and get it out by
We're-
State Street?
Yeah, I think we would just get rid of one of the stalls and put it right there and just have a bigger, planter area, yeah.
That would
So
help
yes,
mitigate
both of them would be, yeah, everything would be as far to State Street that are the big noise producers, the dryers and the vacuums.
The other thing I was looking at was, you do have Supersonic with their vacuums, and you do have some residents right here. I haven't received any complaints on that, but
Yeah, and that's in our city limits, so you would've got the complaints if we'd had any.
I mean, I've been there at that residence, it's in my neighborhood and played volleyball in their backyard, and it's never been I guess it wasn't loud enough that it brought anything to my attention.
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't listening for it, but it didn't say, oh boy.
And it's totally a valid concern, cause I've been to car washes where they're just sitting there ramped up, going crazy. But generally, they're probably older systems that aren't as well kept.
Yeah.
I do like that idea of moving that vacuum, and we
Yeah.
can work with them on that.
Mm-hmm.
A question, can that vacuum system, the generator can it be enclosed? The one I saw had cinder block around the bottom of sound coming off?
So you have to, we've looked at doing that on other projects, and there's gotta be some exhaust, so there's gotta be something outside. I think the idea behind it is if you have the cinder block, it's gonna keep the sound in, but at some point, the muffler, the exhaust has to go out somewhere. So, yeah, I don't know if that, so all of our projects do not currently have a cinder block wall on it, so that's something to look at, if that amplifies it or if that decreases it by having a wall around it.
Is there varying degrees of mufflers? Like, we don't want a glass pack.
Yeah.
You know, we want whatever the state of the art,
And I think,
you know, muffler would be, cause that would be important too.
not to go nerdy on you, but the VacuTech is what the new one we used, and AutoVac was the old one, and VacuTech is light years ahead, and I think it's the
There.
muffler design and everything.
Well, I think the combination of that and getting it moved out to where that noise is just competing with the State Street noise instead of being even a possibility of a nuisance back there by the residential area, it'd be a good move.
Yeah.
And I think with those trees that the other project is required to put in, will help at least the Fox residents.
So on that other plan, right, where would the trees end?
That solid black line
On
is
the
the
end.
property
Like, look at
line.
this, where would the trees end
is
on
the-
this one?
Yeah, let me go.
That's the property line, I don't know how far they go, but
So let's see. So you can see,
Seems like,
almost all the way.
yeah, right to the property line.
So there's trees right there. I guess the question I have, what if, the homeowner would have to be, willing to do this, but what if they provided some trees that went on the other side of the fence? That matched?
I think that's a different property owner, right?
Is that a different property owner, Bardell?
Or is that you guys? Oh, this is theirs clear back there too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's a building, basically a building lot right there.
Right, so I just wondered if right on the property line, on your side of the fence, because there's not room to put them on their side of the fence, but if they provided the trees that would provide, that might be another solution versus moving the whole building. The maintenance would then end up being
If a home did
yours.
ever get built back in there, I think they'd wanna screen themselves from the, you know, and you'd already have it grown and screened before anybody probably did that. Can we require somebody to provide trees for the other side of the block wall?
The easy part,
Is there irrigation
it's the
there?
irrigation,
Well-
yeah.
Well, they have
Maintain the
water.
trees.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trees become their property and they're to maintain, right? It's no longer Tag and Go's responsibility, but it would be a gesture to say, let's get these
It
in.
might be the best kept
Yeah,
landscaping in the city.
sounds like it. But you know, you put a row of arborvitaes, columnar arborvitaes
Yeah.
or something, boy, that
Would
really makes a difference.
Yeah, it would.
If the animals,
I mean, that just
do
seems,
they eat it? The llamas, or
Oh, there's cows on there.
No, we would have to put up just,
little fence?
yeah,
A little hot wire to keep them out of the trees.
I just think that's a whole lot easier than trying to move the whole property to
Yeah,
put a
it
few trees on the other side. But I don't know if that's,
And you know, that might be a good gesture,
Yeah.
not talking much money, and
No, in the whole scheme of things, it's
No.
not very much.
and it would, I mean, it almost looked like it matched, right?
Yeah,
Because
'cause
you've
it's
got
just
these
a
going on this side.
continuation of the
It'd just
other,
be,
yeah.
it'd just jump the fence right there at that corner and go on the other side.
I mean, you're probably looking at 5 trees.
Yeah,
If
it's
you
not,
planted them every 30 feet.
depends on what kind of trees. If you do it with these arborvitaes, you can
Those are
put them
what?
every,
Yeah, because
5 feet.
they're more columnar.
Yeah.
and they're not very expensive. I mean, you can plant fairly small ones, and in a few years, they'll be up nice and really,
Connor would be willing to do that, I think,
Would be
move
a
the
nice
vacuum
gesture.
and work with the foxes on the trees.
I hate to see the tunnel get decreased in length, because I think that's
Yeah.
gonna make a huge difference.
yeah, it is.
yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions from the commission for either the resident or the applicant?
I guess I have some experience on this because my building that I have is right next door to the Supersonic Car Wash, and my office is literally on the south side of my building where the big tunnel, and their tunnel is 10 feet away. If this were going into a quiet neighborhood, I mean, this would be a big difference. But where I'm on State Street and you're close to State Street, I hear more of the vehicles going up and down State Street than the car wash. Not to say there's not some noise coming out of there for sure, but when I'm sitting there working all day, it just doesn't, it doesn't register. But if I'm outside having a conversation, it's the traffic that's the biggest noise.
Yeah.
The thing that I don't like about some of these, and of course this affects me, is when you get a day that's really dirty and cars are lined up and they come out on State Street in front of my building, they block my parking lot. Same thing happens at this quick quack over here. And I think the same thing is gonna happen with yours, but I don't know what you can do about that. That's neither here nor there. You guys probably deal with that at your other locations.
Yeah.
But that can
That's why
be,
you need more car washes, right?
Yeah, that,
Well,
so,
it should shorten the line somewhere.
Yeah.
yeah, you'd hope so, but.
I mean, this does look with loading on that back side, you do have, with the two cars, I don't know, how many cars can you queue?
I mean, you can go all the way to State Street and queue over 20.
So
But
you
if we're just
think you
trying to
can
keep it
queue 20 without spilling over to State Street?
Yeah.
I guess that's the concern, right? That now they're gonna go over to State Street and go around and block the Beans and Brew and, you know, go up past their house, the Fox's house, you know, all the way up
Yeah,
waiting to get a
no.
car wash. That's,
We've never had it that backed up ever in St. George, but we've never been in Utah County either, but.
And when we had that mud storm, during the summer, I mean, it was
Oh, yeah.
3 days straight that
yeah.
The car washes were,
an hour
yeah.
at the car wash, but that, I think that was.
That was
Yeah,
about,
usually it's 5 times a year at most, where you have crazy days where I would even back up to the dumpster.
Okay. And, is your model like most of these? It's a membership-based model that's
Right.
unlimited wash if you pay a
Yep.
monthly fee?
So how many employees are there during a normal
We staff it
operation?
with more than you would maybe see like a quick quack. Supersonic staffs quite a bit because they
Supersonic
have the detail,
people
yeah.
and things like that.
On a crazy snowy day, the most we have is 5. We normally run it with 3 or 4. We prep at the beginning where with 2 preppers and brush where the other ones usually just send you. So we have a few more than most.
Did you have another comment?
Well, yeah, just that it starts at 7 in the morning. In the winter, there are no trees or anything. I don't know, that seems pretty early if we are getting noise from it to have that going.
The commercial zone does not have hours of
Yeah.
operation. So that's not,
Something we can,
I will say that even in cities that have noise ordinances, usually it's from 7 to 10 at night, so.
I think it brings up the point that we've talked about over the last couple of years is city planning needs to, I think, involve some transitioning between commercial to single-family residence by putting in maybe some higher density type stuff. But again, this is just an example of that, I think, because it does affect them quite a bit to be right there by commercial.
Okay.
I don't know if you've already addressed that, and I skipped it. Is the only way in to the car wash through that road by us, or is it going to come from State Street? Or where are they gonna turn in?
So right there on State Street, I would guess 95+% of our traffic will go there, but Marriott showed a cross-access agreement between us and that new Swig or Fizz or whatever's going, so that, yeah, that dotted line.
So they can go both ways?
They can go both ways, so we envision our traffic mainly from State Street. Now, I'm not saying if your neighbors, they're gonna use that road and turn left to go up by you guys, for example. So it will be used some, but the majority of ours will be that. This other group, I can't say.
Is there a proposed light for that corner ever?
Traffic light?
Traffic light, yes. Not even?
there could be that UTA is studying, that bus rapid possibly could be a stop there in the future, which may require a light, but I'm not sure.
That's why they made us put the out off of your old property across to the west that we bought from Bruce. That's why we had to put that entrance there, because UDOT said if there would ever be a light, it'd have to be there to be far enough away from the lot down by the pizza place and far enough away from the hill. So, I mean, but UDOT's,
It could change tomorrow.
yeah.
But it's one of the few places that two roads in Lindon do meet. So it is a possibility,
Well,
right?
it was
I
on
mean,
purpose.
right,
It was on
that's why they did
purpose.
that.
Yeah.
So. Okay, any other questions? Or comments, or what we want, which direction do we want to go with this? I guess just real quick too, just to make sure, as far as architecturally, it looked good to me. Colors meet the color palette. Has staff done all that review that should be done? Okay, I didn't see any problems with it, so,
It's like a nice building.
yeah.
You know, if it had been a quick quack,
Yeah.
Yes,
the color would have made, I know certain people on this panel that wouldn't let them use their
Well,
colors.
you know, we put the first quick back in the valley, and, yeah, they're not the best colors, but I noticed that Alpine made them change colors.
Oh, is that right? You got different colors out there.
to me, it
If we
looks
really
good.
want to get there, they're coming to our territory. And the city said, they said they can only do yellow. I said, look up Alpine. So they looked them up and made them go more like Alpine, so, yeah, we've seen that.
So, okay, so I think the discussion items we had was possibly moving the one vacuum to the west,
Yeah.
and then working with the residents for some possible trees. And can we make that part of the motion, or?
I think you can, because I think what you'd wanna say is at a minimum they'd be planted every 30 feet unless they
Come up with some other kind of,
plan.
yeah.
Okay,
And really, where it's going on the neighbor's property, I would say they should be able to dictate what kind of tree they want.
Work it out with the neighbors.
Because, you know, Mr. Fox is correct in that if it's a deciduous tree, you know, it's gonna be bare in the winter. Maybe they want some conifers along there.
yeah.
So are
Cedars.
we making it a requirement, or we're just suggesting he do that to be a good neighbor?
That's what we'd be suggesting in the
I
motion.
don't know that I want to make it a requirement. So, does that need to be in the motion?
Maybe it's just something in the motion that they'll work with
Work with the neighbors.
the neighbors to mitigate noise. Yeah, I don't,
Yeah.
Because a tree bill can go from, you know, a couple $1,000 to $5,000 or something like that. If you're not specific, or you make it a requirement, or the neighbors get to dictate what it is, or maybe there's an allowance they could come up with, and if the neighbors want more, they can add to that. I don't
I have a feeling that they could work it out.
And I agree with that, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I think they
As long
work
as
it
he
out
lets me
without
put
us-
my cows on his pasture, then we should be good. I'm wearing tennis shoes today, but grew up a rancher as well.
okay, if there's no further discussion, is someone ready to make a motion?
Mike,
All right.
Oh, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
I move to approve the applicant's request for site plan approval with the following conditions. The applicant, number one, will continue to work with city engineer to make all final corrections to the engineering documents. Number two, the plans will meet development specifications as found in the Lindon City Development Manual. Three, final design will meet the commercial design standards for commercial sites and buildings. Four, the applicant will comply with all bonding requirements applicable. And all items, number five, all items of the staff report. In addition, the developer will move their vacuum blower unit to the west and show the city that you've done that, the planning department, and work with the neighbors to the east, in particular, the Fox family, to work out a tree arrangement for additional screening on your west, or on your east boundary, on your other side of the fence.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The voting is unanimous. Thank you for coming in.
Why don't you guys exchange phone numbers in the back, and so you can be in contact with each other?
Commissioners, real quick, I looked up where the BRT stops are proposed, that's actually 400 north.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, I think that's where the stop would be, but if they put BRT, that might then preclude it through there. You know, because they only, I mean, I know like in Provo, they've closed some intersections to right turn
I
only.
think that's
because
too
of
close to the 4th North intersection to put another light.
it would,
Yeah.
it's barely there, but yeah, okay.
UDOT was not making any commitments that there would ever be one there when I was involved in that intersection. So,
Okay, item number 6 on our agenda is any items from the Planning Commission? Is there anything from the commissioners?
Let's see. Our Meet the Candidate night still, is it this Thursday?
Thursday night, yep.
Thursday night.
It'll also be on YouTube if you just want to sit home with a bowl of popcorn as well, so.
what, where would you go to YouTube? Just Lindon,
Yeah,
lindoncity.org, YouTube,
I'll
or
send you a link to it if
send
you'd
us a
like.
link to it?
Okay.
Yeah, that would be good.
I believe it's on the city Facebook page, also is a link as well. So I'll look that up.
So if you go to the city's website, you can get to it.
Site also. Oh, it is on the page. Okay.
Good to see you. Thanks. Take care.
So yeah, Facebook homepage. I can send you the link as well.
Good.
You know who she is. Keach.
We're gonna have cookies though, Mike.
That thing?
It's right here in this room.
Oh, it's right here, huh?
Good people. She's our release.
What time's it? And it's at 7?
7.
Yeah.
He's just.
Is there any other items from the Planning Commission? Okay, well, Mike, Planning Director report?
I know I've been saying this for a number of meetings, but the Tilia Court behind Lindon Nursery will be on the next meeting, so. We finalized preliminarily the storm drain. That's what's been holding this whole thing up because of the property has such a descent that they're dealing with a lot of stormwater issues. So I think they've got that
Figured out.
with some underwater detention or retention this morning, so.
Good. Oh, I think, Mary, you did a great job. Both items. You know, I think she did a great job, so she ran the meeting.
Yeah.
So, and I thank Mike for giving me a nice softball pitch for today, for my time up here.
I thought it would be harder.
So, if we don't have anything else, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Now that we're off the record.
Wait till they-
Let's stop
Stop everything and get off.
real quick. Let's see, where do I do this? Sorry, I do not know where to stop there we go.